Everybody hates Keir Starmer. That's what the polling shows, at least. Around 70% of the public believe that he is doing badly as Prime Minister. This is according to polling from YouGov. Now, there is something cathartic about seeing the man who treated the left of his party so badly begin to plummet in the polls. Not everyone was aware of how much we dislike Starmer, however. And they don't know why we favour people like Zach Polanski or Zara Sultana. So, Turn Left's very own Ben McLean went on to GB News yesterday to remind them.
Editor and contributor at Turn Left Media, Ben McLean. Ben, I'll start with you. I mean, listen, I think that gets to a point, and we've seen a ministerial resignation this week over basic hypocrisy, where you just start to go, do you ever mean anything you ever say? Do you get that feeling as someone who's on the left? Do you still get that feeling from this government?
Oh, Keir Starmer is a morally corrupt serial liar. So to give you a bit of background into why the left of the former left of the Labour Party dislikes Keir Starmer so much, in 2020 he ran to be leader of the Labour Party, and I was one of the people who voted for him on the basis that he was essentially like, I quite like Jeremy Corbyn. A view here which is probably not widely held, but I quite like Jeremy Corbyn, and he essentially sold himself as Jeremy Corbyn in a suit. He made 10 pledges and said, "Okay, so we're gonna stick to these 10 pledges." But the word pledge, it's a cleaning fluid for Keir Starmer. He made the pledges. As soon as he was elected leader of the Labour Party, everything switched and he started listening to Morgan McSweeney. He broke all of his promises. I've probably disliked Keir Starmer, and the left more generally in this country has probably disliked Keir Starmer for a lot longer than people have been paying attention to his dishonesty in terms of his overall dishonesty. As to the 18, 16-year-old thing, of course it's hypocrisy. Of course it is.
Yeah.
It's
hard to defend, isn't it? It's quite hard to defend it. I mean, realistic, it's quite hard to defend it, I think. That's the kind of the problem he's got here.
Yeah, people just don't like him. Now, some of the conversation that COG had on GB News included talk of the Rwanda scheme, which of course wasn't going to work as a deterrent. Morality aside, Saudi border forces often shoot refugees, and if that doesn't deter them, the tiny percentage chance of being sent to Rwanda also won't do it. But that aside, Sarah, how important is it to detach Keir Starmer from the image of the left as a whole?
I think it's absolutely essential, like not just for the health of the left, but for the health of like political debate in Britain. He is a spineless freak, and I think Starmer might hold the Labour rosette, but he does not represent socialist politics at all. And if we allow him to be seen as, you know, the face of the left, and I think we set ourselves up for disaster. This guy is wearing a red tie, but he is representing Tory politics. Like, he is just fueled by austerity, fueled with the motivation to really, really harm the most vulnerable in our society. And like I said, we're going to be setting ourselves up for disaster. I think he's systematically purged left voices from his party and completely abandoned every major progressive pledge that he ran on. Exactly what I still call him Cog, but like he now goes by Ben. Completely turned on every single pledge that he ran on, and he's rebranded Labour as a safe pair of hands for the establishment. But that's scary because this matters to us as the public, because the public, especially younger voters and working class communities and the disabled, have already been burned many, many times. They were told and promised things, and then there were U-turns on it. So they were promised real change, and they got hollowed out like in this Blairite rerun. And I think if Starmer is like conflated with anything to do with the left, then every time he U-turns or fails, it's us that's going to be blamed. It's us and the left that are going to be burned as a result of that. They're going to say, you guys don't know your left from your right. You guys don't know how to string coherent sentences. You don't know what it is that you stand for. So, and we've seen that before. Like the right wing, the right wing press will happily lump every Labour leader into the same box just to like discredit the very idea of radical politics. So the left that I feel like I belong to stands for public ownership. It stands for workers' rights. It stands for a foreign policy that is based on peace and solidarity and ending poverty pay and defending migrants. Like, we're not seeing that with Starmer at the moment, and actually taking the climate crisis in a way that's actually serious. Starmer just stands for triangulation, and I think authoritarianism at this point. He's actually, licking America's arse at this point as well, and is chasing headlines in the Daily Mail, and is making as few promises as possible so he can't be held to account. And I think if we don't draw a bright red line between our politics and his, and the public will think, well, if that was the left, it's not worth fighting for, you loony left, you fucking snowflakes, this, that, and the other. And I think that would be a bloody tragedy, because socialism, for me, massive socialist here, offers real answers to Britain's crises. It offers answers to Britain's austerity, answers that Starmer has no intention of delivering at all.
Something that concerns me is that the same polling shows that Nigel Farage is now the most popular political leader in the country. But he gets that title on roughly a 30% likability rating, right? Which I think is reflective of what we're going to see in the next general election, where I still maintain my belief that Reform UK could get the keys to number 10 on between 25 and 30% of the vote. And to be the most popular leader on, not even a third of the public liking you, shows just how far Keir Starmer and Labour have fallen. And one of the reasons that is the case is because they keep trying to appease the right wing. They are trying their hardest to be like Reform. And Reform voters don't need a Reform light. If they want Reform, they're going to vote for Nigel Farage's party. They're not going to vote Labour. But looking at other people that are there on the political landscape now, do you think that the likes of, say, Zach Polanski or Zara Sultana can push Starmer more to the left? They've got lots of positive cases for immigration, for example, that could succeed in doing that. Or do you think it's just a case of Starmer being unsalvageable at this point?
I think he's unsalvageable. I really don't like the guy at all. But does that not show that he's absolutely spineless, though? The fact that he's trying to appease these people that are trying to go for reform, and trying to step into these culture wars. He clearly has no sense of direction. But the likes of Sultan and Polanski, they're not just defending, migration, but they're reframing it as something that's positive and humane and necessary, which is how it should be framed, because that's how we should be leading. They speak from a place of legitimate principle, unlike Starmer. I think Starmer, he positions himself from a place of fear. And you can see that whenever he does his U-turns or the posturing that he does, just trying to emulate that we are working class people. Look at my cabinet full of state school students, essentially people that went to state schools. But I don't. Fuck that. I don't want to fall into that trap. But Sultana in particular, I think she reminds us that migration is not a problem to be managed, which is what everyone seems to be doing at the moment. It's literally a human reality shaped by war and destabilization that's been happening from these Western countries. Climate change also a massive example. We're in our fourth heat wave this summer, which is fucking wild, and massive inequality that is caused or worsened by the very policies of the West. So she makes that case with clarity and compassion, and that's something that's missing from politics at the moment. And Polanski, who is my hope and dream for the Greens, that's just my personal opinion, he kind of reinforces that same narrative, but, and I'm going to say the massive but, I think Starmer is largely unsalvageable on this front, because he's made a deliberate strategic choice to treat immigration as this political weakness and to chase the votes of people swayed by years of hostile environment rhetoric. And I think that's why he's softened language on safe routes and refused to challenge the scapegoating of asylum seekers. I do not see him speaking out about how they're being harmed as much as they are how they're being scapegoated, how they're being chased. And I'm seeing videos every single day, and it really enrages me. I have to step away from the internet sometimes, of people literally stopping to talk to people who are of a certain race, and asking them if they are Muslim and saying, did you come by boat? It's wild. This place is not safe anymore. And Starmer as well has played into this narrative of being tough on borders, and it's the same logic that drove Labour in the 2000s to talk about British jobs for British workers. That is an approach that hands the framing to the right and leaves the moral case for migration abandoned. So could Sultan and Polanski shift public opinion over time? 100%. And could that in turn pressure Starmer? Possibly, but he's too busy focusing on Farage and the pressure that he's getting from there.
Support independent media, support social justice that's there on social media. Thank you. Turn left.